Hey y'all, it's your friend 16-Bit Gambit coming at you with another video, and in this video we're going to talk about spawning enemies, and I'm going to demonstrate 3 different ways to do it, going from simpler to more complicated, and then I'm going to do a run through for how to do 2 of those methods and a follow-up video for the 3rd more complicated method. So the first one that we're going to see is what I would just call hiding behind a bush. On a particular level, you've already got a character or an enemy loaded, and once you step onto the trap, the enemy appears, like my buddy here on the left. The next method is going to be maybe called phone a friend, where you have an existing functionality inside of an enemy node that then can dynamically load other nodes as well. So for these guys right here, I've got a 1 in 3 chance of whenever I leave their detection boundary, it just loads the node and then connects that symbol, so the enemies can then summon other enemies if you are unlucky enough to get them mad at you. Although maybe it's a little bit less than 1 in 3. And then the last one, you'll remember this guy from the other 2 videos, we got this tree. And once I step into his detection boundary, he's going to start spawning these yellow or green bubbles that eventually become these little plant guy enemies. Granted, he's also an enemy as well, so I can attack him. But those are the 3 methods demonstrated, and now we're going to go into the Godot to talk about how I set up each one of them. Okay, so now we're in Godot, and I've just loaded up one of my standard maps that I have been using to build and test inside the game. And what you're going to need in order to accomplish this is you're going to need an existing enemy scene that you've got for your action game. So here you can see I've got 4 nodes, all named enemy body 2D platformer. I've got from no number 2, 3, 4. And this 4th one is the one that we're interested in. This one over here, I don't have the signal connected, and I have it here specifically to demonstrate that first method of hiding behind a bush, and also added to this map is I got this area 2D that I've labeled detection area underscore delete, because once this video is done, I'm going to delete this dude. Inside of this area, which I've got over here, I've got it set up so that it's on layer 1 and it's listening to 1, 2, and 3. So that when my player steps inside this area, something will happen. When I go into the script for this particular map, at the very beginning, specific just to this enemy for the demonstration, I've got await, get tree, create timer, and about a tenth of a second later, I'm going to go ahead and define that enemy as a variable, and I'm going to say I want this thing to be invisible, and I want to go ahead and pause this thing. So I set the process to false and the physics process to false. Also, for this area 2D, which I've added to the map, I went over to node and I connected 2 signals. 1, body entered, 2, body exited, and those things kick in at the bottom of all this script down here. And when I first, with the character, step inside of that body, the area 2D, the character body goes into it, it calls this function. And I got this little testing note right here that says entered, and then I make the enemy visible, and I go ahead and kick it back in. And then, I just put the opposite there, but really, this serves no function. But to sum it all up, basically, you've got the enemies that you've brought into the map on your own that are pre-existing, and then you have little bear traps throughout the map that when you step into it, it makes the enemy both visible, and then it turns the enemy on, so therefore your character can either fight it or it can chase your character. That was option number 1, and that's not really dynamic. That's really, you set it all up ahead of time, you got a fixed number of enemies that are available on your map. Option number 2 is a bit more complicated, and that's what these 3 dudes are over here. So you've seen in all the previous videos with the enemies that they've got different states. They all run on a state machine. And in order to trigger the state from idle to chase to attack to something, my character will need to step inside of this detection area. And inside the script for that enemy, on area entered, On area entered, and the enemy is not dead, then I have a variable called target. So when the area is entered, that detection area for the enemy, which is only able to receive the character body 2D that is my character, first, if the enemy is not dead, then I'm going to say target is equal to body, which is equal to that character, and then the current state is equal to chase. And when I go up to the state machine, if target chase target, which just identifies the coordinates of the target and that enemy, and then it follows them around the map. Else, it returns to idle state. Now, in the process of returning to idle state, let's go back down to the body exited function. So, if the body exits the area 2D, if body equals target and death animation started equals false, target is null, and that strips that target variable of being your character. So not only is it not chasing, but there's no target to chase. And then the next line is variable roll from 1 to 3, 1 in 3 chance of summoning a friend, phone a friend, whatever, and the current state is equal to summoning. Otherwise, it stays in idle. So if we search for summoning, in summoning state, we decelerate, and if the summoning animation is not started yet, we go ahead and we use the last direction and we play the summoning animation. And then while that's going on, we make it so that you can't right now kill the enemy while it is summoning his friend. And we do emit signal summon. Right now we send self and the position of this one. I'm going to have it set up in the future so that it can take as a variable different types of enemy nodes. Right now I've only got the 2 that you saw, but you know, whether you've got a captain enemy and it can summon lower level troops, whether for instance you got the tree and it can summon the younger tree enemies, that's what my goal is with this one, the whole phone a friend method. And so as you can see on the map, we've got our enemies that are placed in there manually at the beginning, but they all have this signal connected. So if I click on enemy body 2D platformer, no number, then I've got this summon signal connected. And if I go to the script for this guy, map platformer fight test, not platformer because I'm stupid, and I go back to this code over here, anytime a new enemy is added to the map, it uses this load place enemy function. So if I go back over here, the enemy emits the signal summon, and it interacts with load place summon, which is this function right here, and it receives the enemy and the enemy position. At some point I'm going to update this one inside of the enemy character class so that maybe you can summon different types of enemies, and once again it's just done randomly. And then it runs these lines of codes. It says current scene address, which right now is hard-coded, but I will make that the variable received from enemy, so enemy dot friend, enemy dot reinforcement, something like that, which will correspond with this line right here. Then enemy scene packed equals load the current address as packed scene. Current scene loaded equals the packed scene dot instantiate. Then in the map node add child, which is the current scene loaded, and then it sets the coordinates for that one to be current scene loaded dot position dot x equals enemy dot position dot x plus 8. And I did that so that there isn't any sort of overlap. There was a couple of kind of entertaining flubs where I would load a new enemy, but it was right on top of the existing one, and one of them would go shooting up into the air and never come back down. And then, you know, obviously the Y is okay because we're not overlapping on the X. And then the last part right here is, as it is being instantiated, I'm going to go ahead and inside of the code connect the signal for the new enemy. Because if you don't connect that signal when the enemy is being loaded, then although the existing enemies on the map that you've manually connected this summon signal with are able to summon new enemies, the new ones cannot. So this line of code is current underscore scene underscore loaded dot connect the name of the signal, which is summon, and then callable self load place summon, which is this dude right here. And those are the two kind of simpler methods as far as how to spawn enemies. One is just, once again, the purely manual, just add the enemy and then add some sort of criteria for turning it back on whenever you want it to. Granted, you may have to make sure that your map is set up so that you don't accidentally bypass whatever area you would like to use to be the trigger or the bear trap. One could be a timing thing, whatever you put an if statement inside of the code in order to make this one, visible, and two, turn the processes on. That's up to you. And then the second, more dynamic method is having it inside of the code with criteria, mainly being, we've got our enemy node, and we've got the script inside the node with the criteria for deciding to summon an enemy, which is, initially we're chasing the main character gets away, and we got a 1 in 3 chance of getting kind of angry, and then deciding to say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to summon a friend of mine, and making this one a signal that is emitted from the enemy node, and connecting that one back up to the map level. So once again, for whatever reason, or even just attaching it to a timer, emit signal, summon, and then what you would like to, or the location of the scene that you previously created and the location of it tied back to the map. Up here, summon, kicks off load place summon, which receives enemy and enemy position. And then this line of code right here for both adding a scene using code and then connecting that signal so you can then add more. And if you're really unlucky, you can be overwhelmed on the map with, I think the most I've seen so far is 40, and since I don't have a lot of strong weapons, usually I die at that point demonstrating it. Cool. So those are the first two simpler methods. In the next video, I'm going to go ahead and full on run through the idea of an enemy that is a spawn point that can be attacked and stopped, and how to fully build that one out and then show it on the map. Thanks for watching. Looking forward to making part 2. Y'all have a great day. Bye.